Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Art of Being a Woman. I'm your host, Courtney, and today we are discussing the art of outgrowing blame. I am going to be completely honest. I would consider this a bit of an uncomfortable topic to discuss because it doesn't feel good to realize that we are doing something wrong or we have been doing something wrong. And it also doesn't feel good to tell other people that they are doing something wrong. But I am putting all of my feelings aside because the whole reason why I created this post on Instagram and on Threads was to not only hold myself accountable and call myself out in the future for ever placing blame on another person, but I also created this post to help anyone and everyone that is willing to let go of things that get them in their own way of growing up, for sure, but also taking responsibility. When we place blame on other people or things out of our control, we really convince ourselves that we have no power of our own, and we convince ourselves that we're helpless and that we're victims of life. And although that can feel very comforting initially, it allows us to not have to take matters into our own hands and take responsibility. It's truly doing a disservice to us because it ends up becoming a habit. We end up becoming more likely to blame all of our problems and all of our discomfort outside of ourselves instead of getting really honest with ourselves and sitting with that discomfort and moving forward. So we're going to talk about it more in depth today, and it is my goal that by the end of this episode, you can look at yourself more objectively and the areas in your life where you do place blame outside of yourself so that you can really take back control over those areas of life. It might sting in the beginning, but it's ultimately for your own good. Before we get into the 4 steps, I just want to share that I am recording this episode in my car near my house, and for some reason there are just so many people driving right now. So if you hear noise in the background, I apologize. I will definitely try my best to edit out any noises in the background, but there's only so much I can do. I am currently moving from one house to another, so it's a bit noisy and chaotic in my own house. That is why I am not recording there when I usually do. So this feels a bit strange, but it also feels like I'm stepping outside of my comfort zone because I'm recording in a more public setting. So there you have it. Let's get straight into the 4 steps. We have step 1, recognize the price of blame. Step 2, see through the illusion that blame fixes anything. Step 3, choose accountability instead of projection. And step 4, refuse the fake solution of blame. Let's get straight into step 1. Recognize the price of blame. As always, I will use myself as an example because I am not an exception to any of the topics that I discuss on this podcast. In fact, they're all inspired by the experiences that I've been through. And I almost called them mistakes that I've been through. But honestly, had I not made these quote-unquote mistakes, I would have never learned my lesson in life on how to truly grow up and become someone that is more confident and more secure in herself. So that includes this topic of outgrowing blame. I used to really blame the hardships in my life and the way that I felt whenever it was negative, whether it was sadness, anger, frustration. I would always blame it on things that were outside of my control, whether it was my life circumstance, whether it was the relationship that I had with certain family members. I would really find a way to prevent myself from facing reality head on and choosing to do the best I can with what life was giving me. And what that cost me was my problems in life and my negative feelings in life dragging out way longer than they needed to. Instead of me accepting that I was angry because of something that happened outside of my control, admitting it to myself, letting myself feel it, process it, and choosing to do better in the future or just to take one step forward that lifts my mood up a little bit, I would dwell on how unfair something was, or I would find a way to convince myself that had certain things not played out or had certain people not done certain things to me, things would look very different. And that didn't help me at all. Obviously, in the heat of the moment, when I would resort to blaming things outside of myself and people outside of myself, I didn't realize that it was truly hurting me more than it was hurting other people. I really thought that it made me feel better because short term it did. I was able to have an excuse for my anger and an excuse for my frustration and my sadness. But over time, what I learned was that none of it went away. The anger didn't go away. The sadness didn't go away. The frustration didn't go away. If anything, it just grew. And it was a lot easier for me to get angry. It was a lot easier for me to become sad. It was a lot easier for me to become frustrated with little things because I would always hold on to these emotions rather than accepting them and letting them go. And I believe that is truly the price of blaming your circumstances and your feelings on other people. We can think that it changes our feelings. We can think that it brings us clarity to know why we feel the way that we do. But it just keeps us stuck in the feeling that we don't want to experience for that long anyways. We don't want to be angry for a long time. We don't want to be sad for a long time. And we don't want to be frustrated for a long time. So to start spinning stories in our head on who's responsible for our feelings is only keeping us stuck exactly where we don't want to be. So that is something that I advise you to consider in the future. Whenever something occurs in your life that triggers the urge to blame someone else or something else for what you're experiencing in life. Before we move on to step 2, I just want to be clear that this is not an easy thing to do. We all blame people. We've done it in the past, and unless we've become consciously aware of what we're doing, we never really stop. It takes a lot of self-awareness, self-control, and maturity to really outgrow blaming other people. So when you catch yourself doing this, don't get down on yourself. Just be proud of the fact that you're self-aware enough to realize what you're doing, and be proud of the fact that you have the knowledge and wisdom to understand that it's not serving you, and choose differently. Choose to let go of blame because you know that it not only hurts the other person, but it hurts you more than the other person. And over time, it will become a lot easier and natural for you to refrain from blaming others and blaming circumstances in general. Step 2, see through the illusion that blame fixes anything. This is a very important step because blame truly is an illusion. It's deceiving. That temporary short-term relief clouds our judgment and can cause us to feel like we have logical reasoning as to why we should be blaming things outside of ourselves. By the time that temporary relief fades, we forget what we've done to ourselves. We forget that all we did was bottle up more negative emotions rather than letting them go. By the time we are met with these bottled up emotions, we have no real clue where they came from. It's almost a shock to our nervous system, you can say, but also to our mind, to our heart. Because it could be that we're not necessarily angry people. We're not necessarily bitter people or sad people. We wouldn't label ourselves that way. But when so much emotion comes out of us unexpectedly, it can be confusing to know where it all came from. And at that point, the illusion of blame has won. We have no clue that we were the cause of all this built up negative emotion. And if we don't catch it, we will end up becoming consumed by these negative emotions again and again until we come to terms with the fact that something needs to change or nothing in our lives will change. We must change how we are responding to the difficult situations that we go through in life and the difficult people that we deal with in life. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like there aren't difficult people that each and every one of us have to deal with in life. So if you are someone that deals with a difficult personality, this episode is especially for you. That person in your life with the difficult personality is teaching you to not give your power away to them. I've noticed in my own life that ever since I was young, whenever there was someone that was a difficult personality, this can be a bully, this can be just a negative individual, I would get so consumed by their negative emotions. I would get so sad, I would feel so hurt, and I would take things so personally, assuming that the negative energy that I was receiving from someone else was because I deserved it. And it took me a long time to realize that by me being in agreement with these negative people, I was giving all my power away when I could have just simply disagreed and not taken anything that they were doing personally, because it was never personal. Any bully, any negative, mean person has so much negative energy within themselves that they really can't even control the energy they're putting out into the world. And I know that we all have control over the things that we say and we do, so I'm not taking responsibility away from these individuals. My point is, when you are so filled with anger and sadness and frustration, I keep using those emotions because they're coming to mind, but there's many other negative emotions. When you're so consumed with negative emotion, that's all you can pull from on a day-to-day basis. It's very hard to be positive when you're always so negative. And unfortunately, that gets taken out on good people. But the reality is, we cannot wait for these people to change and become nicer and to heal and to realize how their actions affect other people. What we need to do is go within ourselves and make sure that we do not allow our energy to mix in with theirs. And when we blame other people, that is exactly what we're doing. We're mixing our energy with theirs. We're making their choices and their behavior about us when it is never about us. The only thing that these negative people and these situations are trying to show us is that we can resolve these challenging situations and people on our own. We don't need anybody else to apologize to us, to no longer blame things outside of ourselves, and to no longer blame other people. We just have to choose to be above it, choose to outgrow it, choose to no longer attach ourselves to other people's behavior and other people's actions so that we can move forward, because we don't want to be someone that is negative. We don't want to be someone that is so consumed by their negative emotions. Step 3, choose accountability instead of projection. I have a whole episode dedicated to taking accountability because that is something that I really didn't know how to do for most of my life. I'll be really honest. And when I first learned that about myself, that I had a hard time taking accountability, I was definitely embarrassed because I realized, wow, I have been so immature, and I was blind to how immature I was. But honestly, I couldn't care less at this point in my life, because accountability will truly set you free. I know that accountability set me free. For so long, I would blame other people and blame things out of my control for the difficulties in my life and the challenges in my life. And when I did that, I felt very helpless. I felt like a victim of life. And I felt like no matter how badly I wanted to get out of a challenging circumstance, I couldn't, because I was helpless. And it wasn't until I learned how to take accountability that I realized I always had the choice to take responsibility for my reality. And I never wanted to have to admit to myself that I was the only one that can get myself out of this situation, because I honestly didn't believe that I could get myself out of the situation. So I would avoid taking responsibility. Accountability is what really ends that nasty habit of making everybody else the problem except for ourselves. There is no way that we are living our lives and all the challenges and all the hardships that we go through is everyone's fault and is just the universe conspiring against us, and none of it is our fault. None of it is our responsibility. There is no way in hell that that is reality. And I had a hard time digesting that truth. So if that comes off harsh, I'm sorry, but everyone needs to hear it. Think of the last time something negative that happened was truly your fault. Actually, think of the last 3 times something negative that happened was truly your fault. If you're able to think of those things pretty quickly because you took accountability for them, great. That means you really have outgrown blame. But if you're sitting there and you're struggling a little, thinking to yourself, I don't think I did anything wrong in a long time, then the reality is it's not that you didn't do anything wrong in a long time. And by wrong, I mean negative. It's that you haven't taken responsibility for what you've been doing that is negative in a long time. And again, I'm not saying this to make anyone feel bad, but I am bringing awareness to the more shadow sides of ourselves so that it doesn't run around unchecked, because that's what truly ends up hurting us in the long run. Even when someone is doing something to make our lives more challenging and more difficult, we know that the reality is we cannot control what other people do. No matter how wrong it is, no matter how cruel it is, we know that we have no control over what other people do. The only thing we do have control over when it comes to other people is how long we allow it to affect us and poison us. When we keep pointing fingers and making everyone responsible for our problems and the things that bother us, we are allowing the other person's energy to poison us. So consider that next time before you blame anyone or anything for your circumstances. Remember that it will cost you more than it will ever cost anybody else, and decide if it's really worth it. Step 4, refuse the fake solution of blame. We've definitely touched on how blame is a fake solution for our problems and how it'll only create more problems within ourselves. I really want to focus mostly on the aftermath of reaching that point of self-awareness where you can really admit to yourself how blaming others truly was bringing you down. It was truly getting in your way of being happy, and admitting that it was a crutch. It was a way to avoid taking control of your life and taking responsibility for your actions. Once we get to this level of self-awareness, outgrowing blame becomes very simple. We realize that blaming other people has nothing to offer us, and therefore we don't wait for an apology from someone else. Even if we do deserve it, we don't need it, because we realize how much time is wasted when we blame other people for how we feel. And that's time we don't get back. When you get to that level of self-awareness, you realize that it is in our best interest to only stay focused on what's within our control so that we can keep moving forward in life and we don't stay stuck in the past, repeating old patterns, having the same issues with the same people again and again. It is a disservice that we do to ourselves that keeps us low energetically and vibrationally, and it keeps us attracting negative people, negative circumstances, until we really wake up and look at ourselves in the mirror. There's a spiritual concept that I believe is very well known now and very popular, but all the people that we are interacting with on a daily basis, whether they're people we know very well or they're strangers, they are all mirrors to us. And that doesn't mean that we are exactly the same as other people, but the way that we react to other people is only showing us what's within ourselves the whole time. So a person that is mistreated and reacts in anger is someone that is angry. It's not that the person that mistreated them made them angry. No, the anger was always within the person that reacted out of anger. A person that is mistreated, that doesn't react at all, is at peace with themselves. It doesn't mean that the person that mistreated them is at peace with themselves, but that interaction with the other person shows the individual that did not react that they are at peace with themselves. They don't need to react and respond to mistreatment from other people because they know it's not personal. Allow other people to be a mirror and allow other people to show you your level of self-awareness, and allow your relationships with other people to prove how much you've grown and how mature you've become. And you will see that if you continue to outgrow blame, there will be less instances of individuals triggering it within you. Thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to this episode. I really enjoyed recording it and discussing this topic. It is very therapeutic for me to talk openly about the things that I've done in the past that used to bring me shame, honestly, and make me a little embarrassed, because once I speak about it, I realize I am not alone. We all go through this. It's part of being human, and it's a gift to be human. It's a gift to experience life and to learn and grow from our mistakes. So I hope that this episode was able to make you feel less alone if you are in a stage in your life where you're becoming very self-aware and it feels a bit uncomfortable because you're realizing the more negative shadow sides of yourself. It is something that we all have within us. We all have good and bad within us, light and dark, however you want to refer to the duality within each and every one of us. One cannot exist without the other. So we must make the most out of both. If you like this episode, please rate this podcast and send it to a friend or a family member if you think that they would enjoy it and benefit from it. I hope you have an amazing week. I love you all. Until next time, bye for now.